When you have a desire, your mind is occupied. The literal thoughts that you have are focused on what you don't have. So in my mind, what is the nature of desire? It is, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. And what is the nature of contentment? I've wanted a girlfriend my entire life. I have low self-esteem because I'm a virgin, and then I finally got laid. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I have it. So having is happiness and wanting is unhappiness. Simple. Right? Today, we're going to talk about how to conquer desire. Easy, right? Just easy. Like we got a maybe 15, 20-minute video. I don't know, maybe 30 minutes on how to conquer desire. And at the end of that, we'll have figured it out. No, but seriously, today we're going to talk about the fundamentals of conquering desire. Because oftentimes, the reason we struggle with conquering desire is we don't really know how desire works. So let's start with, what is desire? So some part of our brain, our body, our mind gives us desires, right? And why do we have desires? Desires are our organism's way of showing us what will bring us happiness. So just think about it for a second, right? So if I have a desire, let's say I want to eat something, what will happen when I fulfill that desire? I will be happy. If I have a desire for a particular kind of relationship, let's say I want a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and I get that thing, I will be happy. If I have a desire from a week away from work and I get that thing, it will make me happy. That's kind of what desire is, right? It's our organism's way of pointing us towards happiness. But there's a fundamental problem with desire, which is that once I get that thing, the satisfaction doesn't last, right? So even if I say, okay, like I want to eat a cookie, and then the cookie will bring me happiness. So once I eat the cookie, and then I want another one, and then maybe I feel okay for a while, but then tomorrow I'm going to want cookies again. I'm going to want to play one game, and I don't know if y'all are like me, but anytime I get a new game, I'm not really looking for a new game. I'm looking for the joy that old games used to give me, right? I'm chasing that high. And even if we look at things like opioid addiction, they even call it that. They call it chasing the dragon. Because when you become addicted to opioids, the second, third, fourth, fifth, nth time you use opioids, what you're really hunting for is a recreation of that first experience. So desire is what brings us to happiness, but also is kind of a scam because it never leaves us happy. And if we really pay attention to it, we find something really strange and unfortunate, which is that the more we give in to desire, the less happy we become, right? So it's kind of like in a moment, if I eat a cookie, I'll get some amount of happiness. But the more that I become a slave to my desires, it's not like I'm fulfilled and joyous and filled with contentment or whatever every day for the rest of my life. It's like the more that I feed the beast, the more the beast grows and the hungrier it gets. So how do we fix this fundamental problem? If y'all want to dive deep into the most important topics for our community, check out HG memberships. So the first thing to understand is that there needs to be no outcome from small talk. This is a Vasana too. Your mind is Vasanas all the way down. So the key thing about detachment is not that you don't have wants, it is that your wants do not control you. Membership grants you access to monthly streams as well as a back catalog of a year's worth of content, in addition to quests and so much more. If you're interested, you can sign up for $10 a month at HealthyGamer.gg/memberships or click the link in the description below. Hope to see you there. So I'm going to sort of illustrate this by, I had a great experience when I was in residency. This is when I was training to become a psychiatrist. So I was working at this place called the Massachusetts General Hospital, Harvard Medical School, whatever. And in my third year of residency, I was doing something called Boston Street Team. So Street Team is part of this organization, or it's a thing that Boston Healthcare for the Homeless used to do. So this is a super cool experience, very formative for me, where like homeless people like don't have a home, right? They have difficulty commuting. They can't always make it to appointments. Like they don't have a stable place to live. So what you used to do is you actually walk the streets of Boston, tracking down your patients and delivering medical care. So I'd have like my stethoscope, I'd have a backpack, maybe a prescription pad, and I'm with this team of people and we like wander the streets of Boston. Okay, so Street Team would start with like breakfast in the morning where we'd all meet at like a donut place. So we'd have coffee and donuts, and then I'd wander the streets of Boston looking for my patients. The thing that really surprised me was like how resilient and happy some homeless people were. And so I'm trying to be a psychiatrist, right? So I like talk to people about their feelings. So I'd go and I'd talk to them and I'd be like, hey, you know, like you seem really happy and I'm confused. How is it that you're like so happy? And so one homeless person I was working with asked me, like, so what'd you have for breakfast this morning? I said, I had coffee and a donut. And he's like, I had the same thing, right? So like, what more do I need? I have my friends here. I had a coffee and a donut. Like, yeah, sure, you're like a doctor and you're training at Harvard Medical School, but like, we still had the same breakfast. I'd be like, wow, that's kind of, I guess it makes sense. Like, we did have the same breakfast, but my circumstances are different. Your circumstances are different. But I guess if you say so. And then what I do is I'd walk a couple hundred feet after I'm done to this, the Massachusetts General Hospital, which is one of the best hospitals in the United States, if not in the world. And I'd go to my office and I'd go see a patient who is a managing director or a partner at a venture capital firm who comes into my office, who has like a $3 million house in Cambridge, who has an amazing job, who's married, and then we talk about their depression. And I was like super confused. And I was like, wait a second, like what's going on here? How is it that a homeless person is pretty happy and this super successful managing partner at a venture capital firm is unhappy? Because we know that depression strikes the rich and the poor alike. And so that's when I started to really understand the nature of happiness. Okay, so let's understand this. So that's when I started to really dig into the nature of happiness. And let's understand this. So if you think about happiness, desire starts with like an emptiness within you, right? There's a void. I don't have a thing. And then when you get the thing, you are happy. So let's use the example of getting a PlayStation 5. So a couple of years ago, I got a PS5 and I was thrilled. I wanted a PS5. I wanted to be ready for Elden Ring. Let's go. And so I got a PS5 and I wanted a PS5, wanted a PS5, got a PS5. Cool. And when I got a PS5, I was happy for a day, a second day, a third day. And that's what happens when we get what we want, right? So there's like wanting mode and then there's having mode. The moment you get the PS5, you're pretty happy. The next day you wake up, you walk into your gaming room or whatever and you see your PS5 and you're like, yeah, let's go. And you're like, yeah, this is great. And the next day you're like, yeah, this is great. Yeah, this is great. But at some point, you stop having that feeling. And then you start wanting other things. So if we tunnel down into what desire and happiness are, bear with me now, so really pay attention. It is literally a state of mind, right? So in one state of mind, we are wanting, and in one state of mind, we are having. When you are looking at what you have in the world and you are happy with it, I just got my PS5, so it's really easy to be happy that I have a PS5. My desires are satisfied. But when I look at the world and I see an absence of what I have, that is where the wanting and the desire come, right? So I'm missing this, I'm missing this, I'm missing this, I'm missing this. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but that there are a lot of people who have a lot, but are still very unhappy. So they have a PS5, they have a Nintendo Switch, they have whatever the current Xbox is, they have a PC, and then they wake up and they're like, meh, I'm still not happy. I want this, I want this, I want this, right? So I'm reminded of, like, I don't know if y'all have read Harry Potter, but there's this great section about Dudley Dursley. And he throws a temper tantrum because he got 36 Christmas presents. And then his parents are like, oh, we'll get you 2 more. And why is he unhappy that he got 36 Christmas presents? Because last year he got 37. So I don't know if this makes sense, but literally, when you have a desire, your mind is occupied. The literal thoughts that you have are focused on what you don't have. So in my mind, what is the nature of desire? It is, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. And what is the nature of contentment? I've wanted a girlfriend my entire life. I have low self-esteem because I'm a virgin, and then I finally got laid. Hell yeah, I have it. So having is happiness and wanting is unhappiness. Simple, right? And so what we tend to think is that, okay, how do we stance shift, right? So it's like there's wanting mode. I'm in tank stance. How do I shift to DPS stance? How do I shift to having stance? I shift by getting something. That's the easiest way to shift, right? So I want a PS5, get a PS5. Now I shift from wanting to having. If I shift by getting things, then I become dependent on getting new things. And this is the curse of desire, right? That I want more, I want more, I want more. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this, like there are going to be people in your life who will ask you for things and you will give them what they want. And then what happens tomorrow? They want more and more and more. And they keep on demanding more and more and more. And what is happening in their mind? In their mind, they're focusing not on what they have, not on what you've done for them, but what more you could do for them. So they are stuck in wanting stance instead of being stuck in having stance. And then there are some people who are incredibly content. and they're very happy and they don't have many desires. And then if you ask them, if you like talk to them, which I've done, right, for like a decade now, what is in your mind? What is the nature of your lack of desire? And it is that they focus on what they have. And we've heard this, right? We've heard of this concept of gratitude, to have gratitude for what you have. And this is where so many people, myself included, when I work with people on gratitude, I'm like, this is BS. How am I supposed to be grateful for what I have when there is all of this stuff that I don't have? How am I supposed to be grateful for this little shitty little pincy little, I don't even know if that's a word, pincy little thing over here when there's all this stuff that I don't have? And that's exactly the point. You can't be grateful for this as long as you have this pile of wants, right? Because wanting and having are fundamentally two different things. And as long as you want, you will never conquer desire. Instead, what we need to focus on is the having. Literally, right? So I want y'all to really think about moments in your life where you didn't have desires. And what is going on in your mind is your mind is looking at what you have. And this is the crux of it. Conquering desire is about where your mind looks. Because you can get 36 presents and you can still be unhappy. And why is that? Because you are looking somewhere else. You are looking for 37. I graduated from medical school, but I am still unhappy. Why? Because I wasn't in the honor society. You're a fucking doctor. You're going to be fine. It's going to be great. But if you look at what you don't have, which is what desire is, right? Because we can never have desires without having an absence. That's literally what a desire is. So if our mind looks at absences, we will be unhappy and we will have desires. If our mind looks at fulfillments, we will be content, we will be happy, and we will conquer desire. And so now the question becomes, how do you do this? So this is where the trap that we fall into is that, once again, we think that fulfilling our desires is about getting stuff. But this is where I also want y'all to remember, when I get stuff, what is the effect on me? Right? So when I get this pen and you stick it in my hand and it's like, I want a Sharpie, my mind thinks about what I have, not what I'm missing. So what am I looking at? Am I looking at this? Am I looking at having? Or am I looking at wanting? Where is my mind focused? The key thing about getting an object is getting an object shifts us from over here to over here. It is the most natural way to shift from wanting stance to having stance. But here's the really cool thing. You can train yourself to shift into having stance. And the more that you train yourself into shifting into having stance, the more desire will mean, the more conquering of desire you'll do. You'll win battles against desire as you shift to having, right? And so this is the first way to do that. The next time you have a desire that's fulfilled, notice how long your contentment lasts. And instead of trying to control your desire, just try to extend your contentment just a little bit. So I'll give you all a really simple example of how to do this. So I'm hungry right now. I don't know if you guys heard my stomach growling. So I'm going to go eat something today. And when I eat something today, I'm going to enjoy it a lot, right? Because my body's hungry. So I'm going to go eat something. But then what I'm going to do is, even an hour or two after I eat something, I'm going to reflect back on how good it was to eat. Damn, that meal was delicious. I'm going to reflect back. I'm going to hold on to that having stance for a little bit longer. And even tomorrow when I wake up, I'm going to look back. I'm going to intentionally do this, right? I'm going to direct my mind to, man, that was really awesome. I worked really hard, made this video, and then I went and I got a sandwich, and that sandwich was delicious, right? So you can extend the having. That's the first step. And we kind of do this, right? So like even if we talk about things like PS5, I'm going to do some gaming today. I'm going to play some FF7 Rebirth or some Star Sector, some Dota, I don't know, Deadlock. I'm going to play something. But when I sit down to play, I'm going to appreciate it. I'm going to be like, yeah, let's go. You can reflect for just a moment and be like, how awesome is it that I'm not homeless? How awesome is it that I have this stuff to play? I'm really looking forward to this, and I've got it here. It's awesome. I've got this great setup. That is the way that you can shift to having stance, right? Because we chase these things so autopilot. We don't really think about it. We just like play games without really appreciating it. And when you play games without appreciating them, what are you doing? You're spending a bunch of money on Steam sales or whatever because you're looking for some kind of thing that'll give you a huge dose of having. So literally what we want to do if we want to conquer desire is shift your mindset to having. Now, a lot of people may be worried because they'll say, but Dr. K, if I shift my mindset to having, doesn't that mean that I won't be ambitious or this won't happen or I won't? Because if I want a girlfriend or want a boyfriend, then that desire is what motivates me to find one. And so this is not a technique. I hate to break it to y'all. Now that I've said this to you, it's not like you're going to do it like this and 1,000% of your desires will disappear overnight. It's like, oh, wow. Ah, Dr. K. Wow, dude, you're great. You made a 15-minute YouTube video and I'm enlightened and all of my desires are gone. The big difference will be the percentage of your desires that remain. Because what is the value of overwhelming desire? It doesn't do you any good. So when we have a gigantic desire and we even fulfill some small part of it, we don't actually get a whole lot of behavioral reinforcement, right? When you want $1 billion, making $1 million is going to feel insufficient. Why? Because you're not focused on having, you're focused on wanting. So don't worry about that. Instead, what is more likely to happen, and this is what I've seen from my clinical experience, and this is the lesson that I learned from the homeless people, which I taught to the managing partner of a VC firm, is focus on what you have, right? And I'm not saying ignore what you don't have. I'm just saying shift your focus. What percentage of your time is in desires and what percentage of your time is in having mode? And as you shift into having mode, something really cool will happen. You will be more content. And as you become more content, the desire has less of a pull on you, right? So I want y'all to understand this as well. What screws us about desire is the size of it. So if I'm starving, I become a slave to my desires. If I have nothing going in my life, I become a slave to video games. So our desires control us because the size of the desire motivates our behavior. And then we end up fulfilling our desires in unhealthy ways. That's why we're all here. So we want to absolutely reduce desire in a sense as much as possible. It's not going to disappear overnight. Don't worry about it. And then something cool will happen. So as we shift into having mode, we will experience more gratitude. We will experience more contentment. The amount of dopamine that we actually experience will actually go up. We will start to enjoy other activities even more, like working out and things like that. There are all kinds of benefits to it. We'll reduce our cortisol. Our mood will improve, and then something really cool happens. As all of these things start to improve, our capability to fulfill the desires that are really important to us improves. Because if you want a boyfriend or a girlfriend and you're struggling with social isolation, you have social anxiety, the more contentment you have, the less stressed out you have, the happier you are, the easier it will be to solve all of your problems. We have buckets of research that show that contentment in life leads to resilience. So as you shift from wanting stance to having stance, your desires will start to go down. As your desires start to go down, your ability to conquer them, to control them, will increase. And once you conquer or control your desires, then you get to decide what direction you go in life instead of your desires. Hey y'all, hope you enjoyed today's video. We talk about a bunch of topics like this on the channel, so be sure to subscribe for more. If you're already subscribed, GG, and we'll see you in chat.